it's about finding the right alignment between retailer and product. And ultimately, it's a win-win. You know, we want to grow their soft drinks fixture as much as we want to grow our brand. So I'm Freya, the co-founder of Fix8 Kombucha. We have a range of fermented tea drinks, which we handcraft in our London brewery. Set it up in 2018 after graduating and learning about traditional Chinese medicine in Shanghai. Became pretty obsessed with the drink and just wanted to get it to more people, really, as a healthy craft drink, but also a good alternative to alcohol.
So how do you launch this? You've got this idea, you're fresh out of university. I can't imagine it's the cheapest or easiest thing to put together to trial. So how did you launch it?
Yeah, so I mean, I honestly, after university and making some really dodgy homebrew under my uni desk, I actually traveled to America to meet lots of kombucha brewers over there and ended up working in a pickle shop in Berkeley, California for a month. And just touring Portland, San Francisco, and literally trying to understand as much as I could about kombucha as a drink, but also the market. And in America, you know, it's a huge market. It's verging on $1 billion already. So that kind of, you know, carved a bit of the information. But back in the UK, I actually started to brew the kombucha just for a local cafe. And that was a really good way for me to test out recipes, test out flavors, get direct feedback, and just start scaling up gradually, because, you know, these things take time. It's not somebody sees a product launch and they think, wow, that's amazing. How did you do that? But they don't see the 2 years that you're sort of building the brand, building the product, you know, ironing out all the formalities. So it takes time and a lot of exploring, and, you know, no stone was left unturned.
So it sounds like there was a lot of testing in that time, although doing it for someone else. What was the point where you realized, you know what, I could do this and start a real business of this?
I think, I mean, speaking directly to the customers at the cafe where I was creating the kombucha for, and seeing people come in and, you know, ask for it in the fridge and love the flavor profiles and, you know, want to know more about it. I think the cafe was also in a yoga studio, so it was slightly more of a health orientated audience, but just hearing the really positive feedback and, you know, sharing the product, and especially in the early days before having the confidence to try and launch it into an actual retailer, just getting that direct customer feedback from, you know, everyday people was really important to give me the confidence that actually this was all right. And I think it's quite a dividing taste profile, kombucha. It's a bit like having your first beer, wine, or coffee at a young age. You know, you sort of try it and you think, God, I've never experienced this taste before. But then slowly the palate comes around to it, and then you almost start to crave it. It's that sort of really refreshing acidity. And I think a defining moment for me was actually when my dad, who's got such a, you know, mainstream palate, when he started to like it, I thought, right, we're really onto something now.
Amazing. And you then went on to funding to make this all a reality and really grow the business. What was your experience of funding?
Yeah, so initially we did an SEIS round, which I would really recommend to any startups who are just getting started. They say, you know, your SEIS round is very much friends, family, and fools. I think there's a real sort of a feeling that people really invest in you and the idea, because we were pre-revenue. So at this point, it was just a concept. And I think once we'd started engaging our branding agency and, you know, we were putting together a bit more of a vision and having some actual market data from across the pond in America and also Australia, we could see that there was an opportunity. And, you know, creating that vision to sell the dream with serious passion and soul was really important to sort of get those early investors on board.
And that's allowed you now to really build out your team. So you've got the team behind you making this all happen. Any advice for getting those first hires on board?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's a combination of a lot of networking. We've never gone through recruiters or the likes. Chris, our head brewer, we actually met in the early days because when we were starting out and thinking, right, we're going to set up a kombucha brewery. I'd never even seen a beer brewery. So I messaged lots of, beer guys on the Bermondsey Beer Mile, and one of them got back to me, and we struck up a really good relationship with this beer company. And Chris initially brewed their beer, and then when he left to pursue acting, we sort of said, Chris, come and help us out with some fermenting brewery stuff. And he then actually ended up staying full time, which has been great. But I think actually it's also been a huge combination of finding friends and friends of friends, and really just utilizing your network. We've actually found a lot of people, the right kind of people, are drawn to your company and might reach out as well, whether it's for an internship. And I think it's always good to take a punt on these people, because if anything, they're already slightly engaged, and you want it to be a bit more than just a job, especially in the startup world. They've almost got to live and breathe it too. And we've been really fortunate, when building out our team, they're very much bought into the vision of Fix8, and it's not just a classic 9 to 5 job. It feels more like a family.
And you're doing a great job of it. You're already in 300 plus stores, is it? Including some big retailers. So how do you get into these retailers in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, that was understanding a whole sort of the sales process was very new to me, and how to approach retailers. Whenever I want to be listed somewhere, I'll always go to the retailer and look at their fridge and see what else they stock in the fridge. And, for me, that's in the soft drink space. So then I'll reach out to some soft drinks brands in my network, and try and understand a bit more about the buyer. So who are they? What's their personality? What do they like? How can I best engage with them? Because really you're engaging with a human, not a retailer, although it's a bit of both. It's about winning the buyer over. So for me, it's a lot of due diligence and making sure that, samples, that it comes perfectly, it's right timed, I follow up immediately, but also that we're a good fit for the fridge. It's not worth me approaching a retailer which fundamentally is not going to be interested in a kombucha product, or has a very dated audience. So it's about finding the right alignment between retailer and product, and ultimately it's a win-win. We want to grow their soft drinks fixture as much as we want to grow our brand. So hopefully there's mutual benefit there. And when you can shape that narrative, I think it's a much easier win.
And the supermarket or the retail play is something that many consumer brands really push for, but was ultimately turned upside down over the past sort of year or so. So how did you handle that? Have there been any big changes to the business as a result?
Yeah, I think, as most small brands did, they went online quite quickly. So we grew D2C. It was about 80% of the business over lockdown, and, put all our marketing, everything, to driving Facebook ads. We hired a freelancer to help us with that. So it was really about finding the opportunity and then making sure that we were still driving into that space. If you didn't have a big supermarket on board, then your sales absolutely were hit. So I think that, inevitably encouraged lots of people online, or looking into more specialty deli shops or the places which were open. But yeah, absolutely, it completely changed our sales channel focus. We were trying to build in the on-trade and the out-of-home space, and both those channels overnight pretty much were wiped out. So we were lucky enough to win Ocado over lockdown, which has been really good for us, and also Whole Foods Market, these places which did still stay open and sort of have quite big sites. So I think thinking on your feet and just trying to make sure that your product is still available, not just online.
Absolutely. And is the online side of things, so the D2C, is that something you will continue to push regardless of lockdowns and COVID and so on?
Absolutely. I think, it's been a brilliant channel for us. And one of the other ways in which we changed our course was we introduced kombucha homebrewing kits. And that was a decision we took literally overnight, and was an iPhone photo at our brewery on our website, and really actually provided the consumer with something to do, which is what people wanted over COVID. You can't just keep shoving the same liquid down someone's throat when, fundamentally the world has changed. So if people want hobbies and they're looking into sourdough, they're looking into banana bread, maybe they're curious about kombucha. And I think that was a really, really popular SKU for us to introduce, and it is one that we'll keep. And we're developing a bit more of a retail specific format for it, and will probably be a permanent feature of the brand now. So yeah.
Good to hear. And what are the big goals now then for the next sort of 12 months or so?
Yeah, I think, it's really hard to say. We don't know what's going to happen in terms of direct to consumer, and if that's still going to sustain itself when all the shops and bars and restaurants reopen. I think we're really excited to see trade reopening again, and, working with the partners that we were beforehand who unfortunately had to have their doors closed quite a lot in the past year. So I think seeing a reopening of, the on-trade, restaurants, bars, pubs is something we're really excited about. We're working on some new product development as well. So yeah, watch this space on that front. But yeah, I think we're just excited to sort of get back out there and start selling the product in the out of home space again.
It sounds like so much is changing at quite a rapid rate within the business. So how does that affect your role within the business? So as the founder, how's that evolved over time?
Yeah, I think, you're always spinning lots of different plates, and it's about finding the right priority at the moment. And it's always a list of competing priorities, right? So, over lockdown, we were doing some funding, and my role was very much geared towards pitches and investor meetings. And now that, we've sort of been through that, it's back onto business development. And, I sort of drive a lot of the business acquisition. So I think it is a combination of thinking far enough ahead, but also staying grounded in the moment. And, what are the priorities that are needed today rather than in 6 months, 12 months time, but also having an eye on the future. So scheduling for me is an absolute no-brainer. And if it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. And I find that really important.
Yeah, definitely sounds like an exciting time at Fix8. So for those listening, where can they find out more about both yourself and the business?
Yeah, so our website and Instagram are probably the best starting places. So fix8.com, it's got some really good resources on there, as well as quite a bustling blog about fermentation and all things home brewing. But also we're on Ocado, which is a great place to find us, and yeah, some pubs, bars, restaurants. We're doing a lot in the kombucha cocktail space, which is something I'm a huge fan of at the moment. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled.